You're up awfully early. If you find yourself having to burn the midnight oil, give DeLuna Coffee's Midnight Shift a shot. This blend is pure Pensacola. DeLuna Coffee, in conjunction with the Pensacola Police Department, created this medium dark roast to make sure the city is caffeinated. A portion of every bag of Midnight Shift sold is donated to the Raleigh Foundation for Childhood Cancer Research. Try it or one of their over 24 blends and get a discount when you use the promo code WARCHANT15. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Now we got a big mess on our hands tonight.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Promo code WARCHANT15. Use it, saves you 15%. Also lets them know that despite investing into the Florida State football program as loyal, dedicated boosters, that this investment in this podcast is not all for naught for the Lemmings family. Use the promo code WARCHANT15. We sure would appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button if you're listening to us on YouTube. A 5-star rating and review would also be pretty cool. But again, Corey, at this point, not going to ask a lot out of you folks. You showed up. You're here. You're listening. Quite literally all I could ask from all of you. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Corey, for being here as well. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Back in Tallahassee on this Sunday evening as we record.
You drove all the way down from Winston-Salem down here?
Well, no. So I drove to Atlanta after the game, got up at 8 in the morning to go watch Brady play a baseball game, and then drove down after that. But, yeah, I had to be here because I got my nose surgery thing. And Gator Kirk, I appreciate the message, buddy. But, yeah, I got my nose surgery thing, the cancer removal thing tomorrow.
So that's just like outpatient stuff? Like you'll be in and out like an hour and a half?
I think the guy even said I'd be able to drive home. Well, I better be because nobody's taking me. So it could get pretty dicey. If you're in that area around 10 o'clock tomorrow, be on the lookout. But, yeah, I think he said I could drive home.
All right, so if you don't make it in time to the press conference on Monday, what do you want me to ask Mike Norvell, Kenny Dillingham, Adam Fuller, John Papuchis as Florida State falls Saturday 35-14 against Wake Forest? Florida State University's football team now drops to 0-3, the worst start in 45 years. It was Bobby Bowden's first season when they matched this sort of dubious distinction. So what do we ask, Corey? You asked some questions on that field Saturday night after it all settled. Where do we go from here, brother? Where do we go?
I guess I'd ask them if they think anything's going wrong in their particular segments and their phases, if they think there's anything they can work on. Look, man, there's no joy anywhere.
None.
It's like Top Gun. You got to call no joy if you get below the hard deck or something. Like there's nothing here that's redeeming. I mean, Trayshawn Ward and Jermaine Johnson, I guess, are two pretty good players. Trayshawn Ward's a good story, and a good player, a really good player actually. And Jermaine Johnson, another. I think he led the team in tackles again, or was close to it. So he's who he is. But other than that, there's really nothing to be overly optimistic about. But I got a lot of emails about my column on Saturday night, and I for the people that don't know, I'm writing as the game goes on because we're kicked out of the press box after an hour. That's how it is now in a COVID world. They don't let you stay up there and hack. So I had to be quick, and then I also had a drive to make. So I was very in the moment of anger, and not anger in I don't know, bewilderment about what exactly is going on with the offense. What are these coaches trying to do? That from the emails that I got, I don't check Twitter, but the emails I got, clearly that was it was maybe a little too dark.
Oh, really? Oh gosh!
Well,
how
that
dare
was
you? Come on,
that was the
people.
message, but it's also true.
No, it's not. This is horrible, Corey. This is horrible.
No, the team is horrible. The season is horrible. But now it doesn't mean that everything is lost, and this can't be I don't know, salvaged. This tenure I'm talking about.
Yeah,
now, there's some decisions that have to be made. I mean, what, you going to write them off after 12 games? Like, there's just, you'd fire them now? Like, I don't think that, number one, you can't. I also don't think that's the answer. I don't think the answer is to just keep firing people every 18 games. I just don't. Not as a head coach. You're never going to get any traction that way. It does not excuse what's happened, especially with this offense, man. I know there's some offensive line issues, obviously, and their best guys aren't even playing. But the offense is what's so concerning with me. That's the one that I even said that last week, right? Like, that's what I wanted to see. If they lost 41-38, so be it. If they'd have lost that game 38-35, but the offense moved up and down the field and looked coached, not well coached, just coached, you would feel like, okay, you can see some things happening. But it's the same thing, man. It's like what you dealt with the last guy. Actually, the 2019 offense, as bad as that offensive line was, I mean, I know we're only 3 games in, but it wasn't any worse than this offense.
That was Kendall too, though. But yeah,
it was Kendall. That helped. So then you wonder, okay, should Norvell have kept Kendall? Like, would that have been the play to make right there? And that could have kept some continuity going? I don't know. And I don't even know if that was an option. Probably wasn't.
Yeah, continuity is a little bit overrated too, I think.
But, it's like that. That's what's so bothersome is the offense more than anything. Because here's the thing, I mentioned it a little bit in my column. I do think he's changed some things as far as, I do I know it's a very small bar, but I do think they try hard. I do think they care. I do think they play hard. They are not coached well. So my problem, my biggest problem, and I should have made that. This is what I should have made.
That was dizzying right there, Corey. So they play hard, but they're not coached well.
Yes,
but that's okay.
They do. So they're not coached well in the moment.
Okay,
like it's strategic decisions, strategery. That is so mind-boggling to me. It's not like with Willie's teams. I thought they just quit. They didn't have. You didn't like rooting for them. They would do goofy things. Those players would do goofy things. They were not a likable team. They celebrated falsely. They had false bravado. All that stuff. You still see some of that, not as much. But I think this team is likable in the sense that I do think they play hard. I do. But so you've gotten that part at least, at the very least. But so you worry about that part of a culture and building that part of a culture where they actually care and believe and try for each other. I think that's there. At least it's more there than it was. But I'm concerned about the actual strategic decisions that are made. Like some of them are mind-numbing. Like it's a big thing to get a team to play hard, especially when it doesn't. But if you put together game plans like you did on Saturday. And if you keep having your corners, if you don't make any adjustments with your cornerbacks and you just let people keep running by you, what difference does it make how hard they try? None. So that's my concern. It's not so much can Norvell turn around a personality of a team and change the DNA. Sure, man, he might get guys in here. This might be one of the hardest trying teams in the country. But if they're coached poorly, it doesn't matter. And I just think these last 2 weeks they've been coached poorly. Doesn't mean it's a poor coach. But they have been coached really poorly these last 2 weeks.
Ooh.
I know it's a lot to digest. I had a long drive. I had a lot of time to think about this. You guys most of you didn't have to go to Winston-Salem anyway.
Yeah, I did find interesting after the game how he talked about like they're not applying what they're doing in practice to the games. And that kind of goes to your point of them. Maybe they're trying, but then in these games, everything's just falling apart. So maybe they're not being coached well, and that's why they're falling apart in all these situations. It's just nothing feels good about this. Nothing feels encouraging, macro or micro level. If I could quote the great Dan Wolken, I guess apparently he writes like a Saturday misery index for college football, like biggest winners and losers.
Which is perfect for him to write something called the Misery Index.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Dan Wolken, not a very liked person in the college
No, I mean
football
he just
Twitter.
that's the glass half negative part of his personality. He wouldn't write like the elation index. It's the misery index. It's the teams that aren't feeling good about themselves. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
Because there's only 4 teams that feel good about themselves. That's not fun. I mean, that's
I think the Wake Forest team feels pretty good about themselves if anybody actually cares about them. True.
Nonetheless, it's long, but this is just 2 graphs I'll take from it. With this loss, it's time to officially put a hard stop on the idea that Florida State is ever going to quote-unquote be back. This is now a different program from the one that won national titles under Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher, and it should not be viewed as such. Instead, Florida State is like a formerly great company in the middle of a bankruptcy that will eventually emerge as something very different from what it once was. There's no going back, only a choice in how it reinvents itself. Time will tell, but the Seminoles may not have even hit rock bottom yet. There's a decent chance they'll end the season 1-11 or 2-10, particularly if the players have checked out as much as it seems they have. See, I don't think they've quit. I don't think they've checked out. I just read that part for the first time out loud. I just found the whole.
Did he watch a second of that game? I would think not. I mean, not that I'm blaming him. Why would he have? But I mean, he did. They're not. They're not checked out.
Yeah, no, they're not. But they're not good. They're not good at all. This is his team. He's recruited all these guys. Everybody that's the starting 22 is so much of his. And they look so poorly prepared, and they cannot execute anything properly. What was all the stuff that you felt good about building off last season, at least they can convert on short situations, 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s. They have no idea what they want to do. They've abandoned the Wildcat. Good luck or congratulations, everybody, for being mad about that after Jacksonville State. They didn't bring it with them to Winston-Salem. The fact that they could at least produce points in their first drives of the games, whether that was first half, second half, that is now non-existent. I mean, I'm just at the point now. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, I've told you this in the group chats that I've had with my brother. I mean, my brother's like, man, my brother liked Willie, didn't want Willie to get fired. But like when Willie got fired, he wasn't upset about it. He's just like, I get it, man. He's like, I don't think we should have done it, but I'm not. I'm cool. All right, let's see what else we can do. You had a parachute you could pull out. You had an ejection seat, and it was like, all right, fine, we can use it. That's all right. But he's like, man, we can't get in this whole cycle of everything. But after I nagged at him for a little bit, he's like, all right, fine, blow it up then if you want. But man, listen, Syracuse committed 16 penalties, turned the ball over twice, yet somehow managed, despite all those challenges, all that adversity, to hang 62 points on an FCS team. UMass has got a week off before they play us. What? Like, sure. What are you going to go back to Syracuse? What are you going to defend there, Corey?
Well, I mean, not all FCS schools are created equal, right?
Oh,
like
man,
Jacksonville State's beat teams before. They almost beat this team last year. And they almost beat this team 12 years ago. Like, they do that a lot. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. Like, Albany, I can't imagine come close to beating anybody. And again, it's not to excuse what happened, but we can't say all FCS, like Syracuse did that. So you say Dino Babers is the answer?
Not at all. I'm just saying that somehow other teams fall into the same pratfalls as this one, but don't end up piddling all over themselves. Man, they just barely beat North Alabama the other day. North Alabama's been FBS.
You're talking about Jacksonville State. And Jacksonville State, look, that's a gritty win for that group. Everybody telling them how good they are, had a whole week to relive that play. For them to go up to North Alabama, to Florence. Florence is a tough place to play now, Aslan. And get you a dub like that, hey, every win counts. Look, I'll say this about what Wolken said. I can promise you in 2009 he felt the exact same way. Florida State had 3 7-6 seasons in 4 years. They had lost 23 games in 4 years. There is no chance if you interviewed Dan Wolken in 2009 would he have said, oh, yeah, in 4 years Florida State will have the best team that's ever lived. Yeah. None. Yeah. So take that opinion for what it's worth. I'm not saying that Florida State is anywhere close to being back, but don't tell me it can't come back. What possible reason would there be for it not to come back? Is Jimbo Fisher some magician? Is he the only one that can win at Florida State? I don't think that's true. I think you have to get the right coach at Florida State, and it can be a rocket ship. This guy clearly hasn't ignited. I said it again. Come on, Clark. You even gave yourself a pep talk you weren't going to say at this show. This guy has not even hit the ignition yet. It might be one of those rocket ships from like the 60s when they were testing out for the space program, and they all blew up as soon as they tried to lift off. Who knows? It's ugly right now. But I'm not convinced Florida State can never be Florida State again because of this rut. I can't. Who could do that? Like Oklahoma was terrible. Oklahoma's good again. They hired a great coach. You hire a great coach at a place like Oklahoma, a place like Florida State, a place like Texas, a place like Georgia, and all of a sudden wins come. It's taking way too long with this guy, and I don't even mean it's taking way too long. Like we thought what their record would be at this point, 1-2 probably.
Yeah.
So it's man, that Jacksonville State
worst case. You were hoping that maybe you'd be 2-1. You were hoping you'd be able to go up and maybe beat Wake Forest, but you weren't even close. I mean, and so we all know football at a very surface level. We can all agree that was a decent Wake Forest team.
Yeah, but it wasn't that good.
That wasn't a great Wake Forest team.
No.
And at no point, maybe there's a little point where, like, oh, maybe they're moving the ball now. Who knows? Maybe they might be able to spark some kind of crazy comeback. But they were playing from behind and just tripping all over themselves the entire time. Here's where I'm at. I know we're not going to get into this every week. Is he going to get fired? Is he not going to get fired? I'll say this right now. If they go 1-11, this maybe is a part of a bigger argument right here. You go 3-6 one year and you go 3-9 the next. Who does that? I know when Willie was struggling, it was like, well, hey man, look at Dabo. Dabo came out rocky, and then they stuck with him and it worked out. Saban lost in Louisiana Monroe homecoming, but it's like, hey man, that's Saban. We can't use that comparison. Okay, maybe Dabo. But man, like this will be 2 years in a row of just really bad substandard, not even substandard, but just unacceptable levels of performance on a football field at Florida State. And I don't care about COVID, man. A lot of people dealt with it. A lot of them did not look that bad their first year. So whatever, but this was like a double or nothing year for him. It's going towards nothing right now. I mean, you go 2-10 at the end of this, like that's going to be all the data where it's like, man, who's done that and then made this work out? Now, with that said, shelving that, I'm not going to come here every Monday after a loss and be like, it's time. I'm at the point where it's like, I think you'll be in this boat soon enough, Corey. Hopefully not, but probably. Where Brady's going to bring home a girl at some point. But you know what? Good for my kid. But you know what? Eventually, like I don't think he's going to marry her. So like I'm, whatever.
I was going to say, bring her home to do what?
Well,
they
not
go on dates, right?
Yeah, not. I'm talking like when he's in his 20s. I'm at the point where I'm like,
I gotcha.
I don't have a child, but I'm like, all right, I'm at the situation with Mike Norvell where it's like I have a child who is dating somebody, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think they're good enough for my child, but whatever, it's fine. They can have fun, but I know at the end of the day, they'll probably break up, and then they'll go on and get married to somebody I think is a little bit better for them. And I'm not going to be mean to them. They're going to come over, they're going to have dinner with me and my wife, and we're all going to sit down and have fun, and I'm going to be polite, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you're not good enough for my son. How dare you be in my house? Leave. I'm not going to be an animal about it, but she'll know, and I know that I don't think she's good enough for my son, or he's not good enough for my daughter. That's where I'm at with this right now. So everybody that wants to maybe tune in on the Monday show, hear how much Aslan's going to rail about getting Mike Norvell out of here, probably not going to happen. Although who knows? If they keep losing in spectacular ways against really crappy teams, maybe. But just I don't think this is going to work, but I'll ride it out. We have to.
Yeah, and who knows, man? I mean, it's certainly not off to a good start. There's nothing that gives you any positive vibes other than how he is, like, to talk to. There's nothing that gives you positive vibes about the direction of where it's going. But I will say this. Number one, I thought Ira's column on Sunday was on point where, if you were, and he's basically pointing like why you can't do it. You would be paying $8 million a year, I think, $6 million a year. Yes. If you had to buy out Norvell's contract too, you'd have to, for the next 4 years, you'd have to pay $6 million a year to two guys not to coach your football team. And on top of that, you got to go hire someone. So now you're going to be spending roughly $10-11 million on the head coaching position at Florida State University, which is what like Alabama pays. But you're only giving $4 million to the guy that's on campus because $6.5 have to go to the other two guys that weren't good enough.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that because if you go that way, you have to absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. You can't
get a $4 million a year coach. You'd have to get you have to do something crazy. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I think the reality is we all just have to hope this guy knows what he's doing. We have to hope to. There's no proof.
You could pull Lane away from Ole Miss with like 5.5, 6,
for what,
but still
6? You're still paying now you're up to $12 million a year you're spending on your head coach at Florida State.
Or you just keep spending $4 million a year and you suck. Or you spend $12 million and you get
It's not
better.
a zero-sum game. That doesn't mean that because Mike Norvell's team sucks now that it will next year and the year after that, right?
Okay. Maybe. Hopefully not.
That's all.
Yeah, this is not who they're going to be. But listen, when they lost to NC State in 12, I'm like, Jimbo Fisher's never going to win a national title. I'm cool with him, though. He's beating Florida. He's beating Miami. We go to cool bowl games. But we're probably never going to win a national title. Whatever. I came to peace with that. And I was totally wrong. Next year they win a national title.
Right. Norvell might be.
He could maybe win 8-9 games here. Yeah, that's my thing. If you go 3-6 and you go 3-9, maybe that's not who you're going to be always here. You'll get better. Yeah, man. But man, you're not going to be 13-1 better. I don't think so.
I mean, who knows? It's hard to say that. My point is, though, we all have to come to the realization that as bad as it is, these last 2 weeks About as bad as Florida State football has ever had in a 7-day stretch. Probably you could argue the worst when you talk about how you lost on the first Saturday and then how you looked on the second Saturday when you thought you'd play better because you were embarrassed. Instead, you're down basically 3 scores the whole game, 2 or 3 scores the whole game. Yeah. It can't get worse. Like, that's as bad as it's been since we've been alive. I don't like the big money people. We all have to come to grips with the fact that this guy's the coach for the foreseeable future. You just can't do it. You have to hope like Hades that he can do that he's good. And you might have to give him some help. And I'm talking to you big money boosters because I know you listen. You might have to spend money on some 5-star recruits to advertise for whatever business you run, or you might have to go get you a Brent Venables type defensive coordinator. You can't you can't keep, and not that $800,000 is bargain basement for a defensive coordinator, but you've got to give this guy some help, man. Maybe OC too, but certainly DC. And you got to spend money. I guess that's what will come if they go 3-9. You're talking about a guy that, including COVID, is 6-15 in 2 years, the worst 2-year stretch since Mudra. So if you punt and say, okay, we're going to go look for another coach, well, then your recruiting class is gone. You start all over again, and who do you go get?
But it's my fault. I put us on this path, so I'll let you finish it off on it. They're not going to keep this recruiting class if they're 3-9. They're just not. Travis Hunter, I'm not calling you a liar. You're a great human being.
If Travis Hunter comes to Florida State, I mean, they should like that. I mean, man, if you saw his Instagram post on Saturday night after the game, he seems steadfast. He seems completely genuine. He's also like 31 miles from Athens, Georgia. And if you've watched that program, they're doing some things up there. So there's a lot of pull. Yes. And he's hearing it. Every time Florida State loses, and all his buddies on that football team and all the people in that school that are Georgia fans, and they know how good he is, and they know that Georgia is always looking for a missing piece and to finally win a championship, and maybe he's the guy. He's going to be feeling immense pressure when December comes around, when Georgia's playing in the SEC championship probably, and Florida State's maybe got 3 or 4 wins.
I don't know, man. Florida.
Well, you're right. Florida was good too. So, so that, if he holds true to that and sticks with his commitment, name the IPF after him. Build him a statue. Knock down Dunlap and build a Travis Hunter statue or something. Like, that would be an all-time. It would be an enormous. It would be on the level, maybe even more so than Jonathan Isaac and Leonard Hamilton. It would be because Leonard Hamilton was on shaky ground there, but he had Isaac coming. And you can't fire a guy who has Jonathan Isaac coming, and then they've done what they've done the last 5-6 years. It would be huge for Travis Hunter to do that. So if they can keep it, we'll see. I agree. If it looks like this, if they continue to lose by 21 and 28 points, if they finish with 2 wins, who knows? I don't know. It's going to come down to if you have confidence whether he can get the job done or not. And I know we don't, and you don't, but we don't matter.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. I am a nobody. I readily admit that. Yeah.
But it's the people that make the decisions, right? It's the people that pay for coaches and the people that employ coaches, and there's a lot of heavy calculus when it comes to that. So I just don't think it's happening. I think we probably talked too much about it.
Right. Yeah.
Let's wait and see where we are in November, and we can revisit it. I'm more interested in I don't understand what happened. I don't understand how he went from scoring all those points at Memphis. And I know it was the AAC. Great, man. Wake Forest defense wouldn't be anything special in the AAC. And I know Jacksonville State's wouldn't. Yeah. So why were they scoring all those points for years in top 10 in the nation in points? And then they come here with, I would think, similar talent. Probably not better, certainly not world's better, not 90s better. What is going on with the offense, man? Why can't the offense put points on the board? 31 points in 2 games against those 2 defenses is ridiculous. And that's my biggest concern. And that's the issue I have moving forward is why isn't that better 12 games in? So that's my concern. It looked like it did against Georgia Tech with James Blackman as your quarterback. Why?
Points on the scoreboard. How about dollars in your pocket or maybe your e-wallet? And not dollars, cryptocurrency. If you're interested in investing in cryptocurrencies but aren't sure where to start, check out the Kraken app. With Kraken, you can buy and sell over 50 of the most popular cryptos. That's what they call it, Corey, cryptos, cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Ethereum, all on the go 24/7. It's super easy to get started. Just download their app, create your account. You'll be investing in minutes. And the coolest thing about buying crypto through Kraken is that you don't need a lot of money to try it out. So even if Bitcoin is hitting at like $40,000, which I can't believe that, you can buy as little as $10 worth on Kraken to get your feet wet. Find out yourself why Kraken has been one of the highest rated places to buy crypto for the last 10 years. Visit kraken.com/warchant to learn more or search Kraken, Kraken, in the App Store.
How about that? We're getting big. We're big time now. We're doing crypto ads.
I don't know what's going on with the offense, Corey. And that's where a large part of this angst comes from, is that nothing is making sense. And when we were going into this season, it was like, all right, man, what if the defense can make a jump from 100 to 60? We're not asking you to be elite, just be like 64th best, because we felt the offense will probably be like top 40, top 30-ish. And they're nowhere close to that. And they don't know what they want to do at quarterback, but it sounded like they know what they wanted to do by starting Mackenzie Milton, but Jordan Travis was part of the plans. Jordan Travis had the two most explosive plays they had, but then Jordan Travis could not make it through a full 60 minutes of a full contact tackle football game. And now here we are, and people are clamoring probably for Chuba to a certain degree, which I don't think that's a solution, but I guess at this point, might as well turn over every stone you possibly have. It is a talent thing, but hey, man, we didn't give the other guy a lot of slack when it came to that either. We swore up and down, hey, man, Nooney Murray's good enough. Him and Keith Gavin are good enough. Figure it out. You got Cam Akers. Figure it out. So I don't want to be inconsistent in that sort of regard, because this one almost doesn't feel there's no cohesion in the play calling. There's no rhyme or reason for what they're doing. Listen, I didn't have a problem with the fire drill sort of, when Pokey stopped short of the goal line, which by the way was a really good play. What was that? Was that the beginning of the fourth quarter? When McKenzie fumbled the ball going under center.
Was it Pokey or Keyshawn?
It was Pokey who made the catch
they got
prior
down to the
that.
one.
Yeah, and I was like, and he made a great stop, made a great cut, and went upfield and got, he squeezed out every possible yard of that play.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He was fighting. He was trying. And
he was about to reach the ball across the plane, and I was like, oh, don't do that, man, because you're going to get knocked out of your hands. You're going to fumble. And he didn't. Last second, he's like, oh, nope, bad's going to happen. I'm going to go down. And then you're at the 1 yard line, and I had no problem with that one, but the 4th and 2 going back the other way. And looking at the play like 5 different times, there was a busted offensive line assignment, but still, though, like to have McKenzie run that, it felt like they still had their Jordan Travis play sheet in their hand when they call that up. And I guess that maybe goes to your strategy comment. The strategery sort of stuff is now beginning to kind of bubble and create the concerns we have about that. But offensively, I don't know where the fix is there, because that's his offense. So whatever, get a new coordinator, but it's still your offense. I don't see him, conceding his vision. And do you want that? I mean, because then you're back to where you were with Willie. Like, we brought you in because you're the fun-wheeling, high-flying offensive guy, but we're going to pay $1 million for the first time in program history to bring in an assistant coach to run the offense because you're a derivative of his. So let's get the original real McCoy. So it's the offense continues just to be staggeringly bad. And this defense probably deserves more scrutiny, but the offense is so bad I can't help but just pound them into the pulp before even thinking about criticizing the defense.
Yeah, and we'll get to the defense in a second. And I think, honestly, this will probably be, like, again, I don't think we're going to be doing a whole lot of fire Norvell watch on this show. I think we all understand the reality of the situation. We'll
real quick, I've been interrupting the hell out of you, Corey. I'm so sorry. I've been doing a terrible job. What, to that point of the Norvell fire watch, it was clearly in our face. It was in our face the whole time. They signed Mike Norvell to a 6-year deal, everybody. A 6-year deal. by doing it that way, that was the signal of, hey, this might be rockier than everybody wants, but we're going to have to go this route. Because if they would have done a standard 4-year deal like they did with Willie, at this point, yeah, you're fine. You're good. You can cut ties with them and you're good to go. That's why it was a little bit easier to part ways with Willie because of the amount of years left on the contract. Now the dollars are still the dollars, but Norvell gave up the big money up front to have that long-term runway to get this thing going up. So the decision makers are like, okay, this situation you're inheriting is really bad. It's probably worse than any of us could imagine. We're going to give you time. So yeah, even going 3-6 and then maybe 2-10 this year, they'll swallow that bitterly, but move forward with him.
And look, unless Spanx lady wants to get involved, this isn't an unlimited. This isn't a faucet.
She has a
you just turn
name.
on.
It's Sarah Blakely.
Sarah Blakely, right? I can never remember.
Miss Blakely,
Sorry,
please.
Sorry,
Ms. Blakely,
Sarah.
please.
She's probably a listener, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's a big Nole. That's not happening. So there's no faucet with unlimited funds, and you're not getting $100 million like SEC schools do. So it's a finite amount of money, and you're already spending too much on Willie Taggart to not coach. You just can't do it again. Even if you went 0-12, maybe, but somebody has to come out. The only way that could happen is if somebody came out and said, "Here's a check for $22 million, pay them both." And then get this guy, and let's start winning football games again. I don't see that guy anywhere in the Florida State fan base. Right. So let's kind of squash that. What you look for with this guy over the next 9 games is any sort of cohesive plan with the offense. The defense, I think we look, man. I can't envision Adam Fuller being back for year 3 if it keeps up like this. So let's maybe he's dead man coaching, maybe he's not, maybe he turns it around. I do not think they were the reason they lost to Jacksonville State, even with that crazy play, but that probably signed his death certificate at Florida State unless they have a miraculous turnaround. I think there will be enough pressure on Mike Norvell that, sorry, man, you got to go get something else. This isn't cutting it at Florida State. And I like Adam Fuller. I hope he does turn it around. I hope they're top 10 defense in the country. There's just a blip. But he's got to get the offense figured out. Because you're right, that's what he is. That's what he does. And that was my biggest problem with Saturday, is it seems so reactionary. And that, again, that's a little concerning to me, and I've said that word a bunch. But if you're it goes back to even starting McKenzie against Jacksonville State. If you believe so much in Jordan Travis that he was not going to come out of the game at all in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame until he got his helmet knocked off and he was cramping. Other than that, he was your guy. You're riding and dying with him. McKenzie Milton was not going to take a snap. And then he gets taken out of the game because his helmet comes off. McKenzie Milton completes one pass right away, so he stays on the field. He completes another pass. They score a touchdown. He moves him down into field goal range. That's enough for McKenzie Milton because the fans go crazy and love it, and it's a great story. But if Jordan Travis was your starting quarterback in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame, I don't know what Milton did to be the starting quarterback in the first quarter against Jacksonville State. And again, it just seemed reactionary, like the fans wanted Milton, so I'm going with Milton. Much like the fans don't like the Wildcat, so I'm scrapping the Wildcat. I know it was blown up in that last play against Jacksonville State. It's also been pretty darn good to Florida State since Norvell got here. Corbin got a lot of first downs last year with it. Trayshawn Ward scored a touchdown against Notre Dame with Milton on the field with it earlier. And Kenny Dillingham defended it after the game on Monday, after the Jacksonville State game. So why then, on 4th and 2 and 3rd and 2, is Milton running the ball like that? Like, why was it literally, do you remember another game where they didn't use the Wildcat in short yardage?
No. Although I'm not my memory's horrible, but
yeah, but there might have been one. I just feel like every game they played last year, in the Notre Dame game this year, and the Jacksonville State game, when it was 3rd and short, they wanted Corbin to get the ball, just a direct snap. That's what they've done. You might say it's predictable. You might say it didn't work against Jacksonville State. All right, but do you believe in it or not? Because if you believe in it, stick to your guns no matter what the fans are saying. I don't care what the message boards are saying or what radio hosts are saying. If you believe in it, if that's your offense, stick with it. Don't be so reactionary because, I mean, it's been such a big part of their short yardage offense, Aslan. Like, that's literally what they do on third and less than 3 or fourth and a 1. They almost always snap it to Corbin. And in this game, it was nowhere to be found, and it just so happened to be after the fans were the most vociferous about their displeasure with that particular play.
You're giving a lot of credit to the fans.
Team,
I like it, Corey. I like it. You're giving a lot of credit to the fans and their voice.
Well, I mean, the fans can't coach this team. And again, that maybe it could be a complete coincidence. His answer when I asked him about it didn't make a ton of sense. But I don't think on a level like a football coach, that's not being sarcastic. I really don't. That sounded sarcastic. It wasn't. I don't think like a football coach, and it didn't make a ton of sense to me. You can go watch it and see for yourself what he said after the game on Saturday. But that to me, just stick with it, man. If that's how you coach, if that's a part of your game plan, if that's what you did at Memphis, and you did occasionally, why then just scratch it? And you could have used it. You had a third and 1 in the first quarter, down 7-0, 3rd and 1. And Trayshawn Ward takes a handoff from Jordan Travis and gets knocked back 3 yards. You had a 3rd and 2 in the second half, down 27-14, driving, short yardage. You've been pretty good at short yardage since you've been at Florida State. You're not good at picking up third downs, but you've been pretty darn good in 3rd and short. Jordan Travis takes a 10-yard loss on a sack. These are definite. I just have no doubt that 2 weeks ago in the same situation, those are Wildcat snaps. And they weren't this week. And then the Milton thing at the end was just bizarre. I mean, Dillingham's reasoning was it gives us an extra hat to block and it eliminates the middleman of snapping it to the quarterback. So what was different about that reasoning this time? You either believe in what you're doing or you don't. That's the bottom line. And to me, it screamed of a coaching staff that's still not sure what they're doing and doesn't maybe even believe in what they're doing from a schematic standpoint, not from a culture building standpoint. From a toughness building standpoint, I know Mike Norvell believes in that, and I think he's seeing results in that area. I really do. I think he's, seeing some results in the toughness area that he's trying to build. The discipline, sure, penalties, and we can get to a few of those ridiculous calls, but penalties notwithstanding, I think he does see some accountability and some toughness being built in this program, which is big. He believes in that and how he coaches there, but does he believe in this offensive game plan or his OC enough to ride with it, even if it doesn't work for a game, or ride with the quarterback that you think is the best for your team, even though another kid comes in and throws 5 completions against Notre Dame?
No, it's fair. It's worth discussing. It's worth bringing up, and also the fact that again, man, they don't know who their quarterback is going to be, who they want it to be. Again, I just think McKenzie started against Wake?
Yeah,
correct?
He played 2 snaps. He completed a pass, and then Corbin fumbled.
Yeah, and then next drive, again,
Travis is in.
coming in the second drive. Like that just, again, is a bit of a odd sort of situation. They're going with the offensive line we know is banged up.
Yeah.
It was banged up in 18-2 with, Dickerson exiting the season. So, I mean, these are parallels. That what makes it so kind of difficult to try to find the fine line between being critical and then also trying to create some sort of,
perspective,
hope.
context. Well, there is context,
yeah.
right? Like, there's context to it. You are missing your 2 best linemen. I mean, in my opinion, maybe 2 of your top 3. You don't have a ton on your roster anyway. You're definitely missing your best linebacker, and I don't know when Emmett Rice will play or if he'll play. And your corners,
Corbin's fumble is not the offensive line's fault. Milton
and stuff
fumbling,
like that happens too,
fumbling
right?
the ball on the goal line's not the offensive line's fault.
Yeah, but is it Norvell's fault? You know what I mean? Like that's what maybe
don't
the Milton one is.
Don't trot Milton out there. If you're the guy that's detail oriented and the referee's telling your quarterback get off the field because your arm is hanging down to the ground because you're in such pain right now that you're a safety hazard, you cannot be on a football field. Take a timeout. Make him feel better. Don't make him get on the sideline. Then tell him to get. Dude, you didn't see because you weren't watching the TV feed.
I saw it.
Man, he told him to go back on the field and fall down. And
well, but that's I bring this up because the Falcons did the same thing on Sunday night. They had a receiver that was hurt, and he took a while to get up. He tried to test it out. He couldn't go, and he was limping slowly off the field. And the coach, son of FedEx founder, the Falcons coach, whatever his name is, Smith, starts screaming at him to fall down.
Arthur Smith is the son of Fred Smith of FedEx?
Yeah. Yeah.
No way. I didn't know.
Can you imagine? Has there ever been a head coach that grew up, a football person of any caliber, of any import, that grew up with living like that? in what I would imagine was a 40-bedroom mansion.
Oh, man.
I'm
Yeah,
sure he
right.
relates great to those players.
I think they
What
had
a wonderful hire. I mean, I'm sure he relates great to Arthur Blank.
I wonder if it's
They're
his
probably in the
kid.
same
Tax bracket.
Bones Club, the Skeleton and Bones, or whatever those clubs are called. They're
Skull and
they're
something.
in the Illuminati together. That's how he got the job. Rich folks. But so Arthur Smith did that with Gage. He screamed at him to go down. I got why Norvell was doing that because they were going to have to burn a timeout. Like, if you're hurt, don't limp off. Like, we have to get Milton has to warm up. Like, don't you think you might have to come back in the game. You want all the timeouts you can get. That's a free timeout if your guy's hurt, and he was legitimately hurt. So he should have. I mean, I don't. It looked goofy. It was goofy, but that should have been relayed to Jordan sooner. But he should have gone down because that gives Milton time to warm up. It gives time for the trainer to look at him. You get your thoughts together. You can come up with a plan. Like, their quarterback got hurt. Don't run off the field as if you're a second string wide receiver just given the first stringer a breather. Like, go down. Let your team adjust to the starting quarterback getting hurt.
I know, but
I didn't
that's-
have a problem with that, but it's like Florida State, so the optics are terrible because it just looked so goofy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying when he's slowly coming back, it's like you got to be like throwing your hands down like you're at home
Like, get
plate,
down. Yes.
telling somebody to slide. Like, dude, get down right now.
Get down, please.
And then
Yeah, don't wait
as-
till he does that. Yes.
and then
And
as
maybe he was
McKenzie-
yelling and Jordan didn't hear him.
And then as McKenzie's running out there, maybe run something that's a little bit more safe and like,
Yeah.
hey man, don't take a crazy shot downfield.
Hey, Milton's a gunslinger, baby.
And then the
Milton's a
second half,
gunslinger.
your defense bows up, gets you a fourth down stop, and then everybody knows nowadays that when you get fresh off a turnover, you know that's the time to take a shot downfield. And McKenzie forces it into like triple coverage. Like, no, man, just run the ball here or take something safe. Like, I know we're down 2 possessions. We want to get a home run, but let's just get a single right here. Let's get a double right here.
Well, I thought that was 3 down. They were down 3 at that point, right? That was the final
Was it
score,
35-4?
right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
35,
think
okay.
that's when that happened. The turnover that was the game ender was obviously
In the end
the
zone.
one in the end zone, and even then,
And
it
then,
brings
like-
them to 35-21. Wake's offense then probably tries to move the ball to go put the game away, and they probably would have because we've watched that defense. But yeah, look, the 6 turnovers and also a turnover on downs when you ran Milton on 4th and 2. Not bathing themselves in glory on that side of the ball. They don't have elite NFL talent on that side. They have talent enough to score 4 touchdowns against Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And, they were 1 yard away from doing it. And going back to the detail thing, and Ira brought this up, we don't ever see them practice a QB sneak with Mackenzie Milton. You don't see it. They don't do it.
Well, we also don't see
Maybe
them
they do it and we
2-minute
don't
drill.
see it.
Yeah. You know.
Maybe they do it and we don't see it. But that's not something he does a ton. That's not something he's done probably a ton in his career. It doesn't mean he can't get hit. But he's not Tom Brady, somebody that's used to getting at the 1 yard line and just taking a snap and leaning forward. This isn't something Milton's done a lot in his career. And it seemed like a very rushed play. I get it because you just got down to 1st and goal. That's fine. Maybe, in my opinion, they had that play last year, right, where Wyatt Rector went in motion and took the snap.
Sounds
And he scored on a QB sneak. Maybe have somebody else, maybe do the Marcus Outson, like he takes all the QB sneaks for Chris Winkie or something. Like, you're not going to do a lot of QB sneaks at the 1 anyway, but that didn't work out well. It's hard to blame Norvell for that, except that how many times have you repped that?
Yeah, no,
That's a pretty important play. How many times have you repped? And maybe they do, and we just don't see it. Maybe that's a Thursday. Maybe all Thursdays are QB sneak days. But we don't see that a ton in practice, so we don't know how much it's repped later in the week. And how much is Milton getting hit wearing the green jersey.
I wasn't upset with that. Again, this just goes to we celebrated his organizational skills, his attention to detail. And then that play there, that looked like Boise State with Levante Taylor and D-Jack fighting over the fumble. Like, I'm saying
and then McLean, instead of falling on it, tries to pick it up.
Yeah,
like he wants to run the other way.
Yeah, I'm saying his name here, but I have full confidence that he's going to be a very good football player for the school. But like Malik McLean tries to bend over and pick the ball up, like Corey said, and run the other way, where it's like, man, just jump on it, dive on, somebody get on the ball. It's a touchdown. And that goes to my point where, like, okay, either they're not teaching you can't teach every single thing, although they try to say that pretty much we drill our guys on everything because we want to be so ready for anything that happens. But for whatever reason, and this is probably going to be the crux of most of what I'll try to ask them on Monday, as well as the T-shirts they wore coming off the bus in Winston-Salem. But like where is the gap in the application then? Because when he was talking to you after the game, he was like, we do not practice this way. Like, we do not look this way in practice. But then when we're getting in these game situations, we look totally different than how we prepare. Like, we prepare a certain way, then we're playing a completely different way. Like, where is the disconnect in that? Why? Because then that's not a player's issue then, man. If you're practicing a certain way, or maybe it is, and then you can't perform and execute it, are you not calling the same kind of plays? Are you guys unsure? Are you creating sort of doubt in the minds of your players because you don't know? There's miscommunication. I don't know. That's a fair enough sort of explanation to come up with to the media after you've dropped your third game in a row and been in this sort of hole. But how can you fix that then? Like, we need some sense of solutions. And I'm not saying fire anybody midseason. And I know Ira put that in his column. Like, maybe you do it just to get a spark. I don't think so, man. Where you're at right now, like, bowl games off the table. I just want it, like, 4-8 would be a miracle to me. Like, get to 4-8 so the Gators can't be like, you guys went 3-9. At least we went 4. Like, that's how scared I am. I'm legitimately that scared right now. Because I think Syracuse and UMass are like your only legitimate possibilities. They're an underdog right now to Louisville at home. That's not good. You know, that's where I'm at on that one. I don't even know where.
Yeah, I get you, man. All of it is justified. Like, I didn't respond to any of the people that emailed me. I just read the subject headers. I appreciate the emails though, but I just don't want to get in a back and forth. But most of them looked like they were like basically like preaching, take your time, don't rush to judgment. And I'm not rushing to judgment on Mike Norvell as the Florida State football coach in perpetuity. But through 12 games, it's been not good. And even if you want to say, and that's being kind, even if you want to say, hey, COVID was year 0, don't really count. Okay, 0-3 sucks, especially when one of the losses is to Jacksonville State on the most ridiculous loss in the history of ACC football. So, by the way, did you see Wake's defense at the end of the first half? How about that?
Different.
It was the same exact situation except without a timeout. Florida State had the ball at the 40.
It's not the same exact situation. We didn't have a timeout.
The ball's
Jacksonville
at the
State
40.
could have got a kickoff, everybody. I know nobody wants to believe that. I know
they had 4 guys. Florida State had the ball at the 40. Wake Forest had 4 guys at like the 30 and 4 guys at the 10. And that was their defense. And somehow Jordan Travis takes a hit that knocks him out of the game on a Hail Mary where he sees the guy. There's only one dude in the zip code with him, and he holds the ball just long enough to get smoked. Anyway, it's just crazy. Like, how do you coach that? Do you have to coach Jordan Travis to, hey, don't take a huge hit right there? Don't set up so the one guy that's in the picture can lower his shoulder right into you and drive you into the ground on a meaningless sort of Hail Mary type play? Anyway, so there, I don't even know where I was going. The defense is not any good. I don't think
We're
that's
just
where I
saying
started. But
you're not in the rush for judgment.
Oh yeah,
after 12.
But I am. I'm not. But I am. It's easy to judge these first 3 games of this season, and they've been awful, and they seem to be getting progressively worse.
Yes,
those are concerns, right? It does not mean, oh my gosh, fire Norvell now after 12 games. We've seen enough. But he's lost the fan base. You can't have 2 games like that back-to-back and think that the fan base is behind you. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
It's still your team. You can win them back very, very slowly. You can win them back. But you can't have the kind of things that we saw on Saturday. The not seemingly knowing who your quarterback is. Not having a consistent plan of attack offensively, not seeming to know what you want to be. It also didn't help that you ran 51 plays, which might be a low. It literally might be a program low for Florida State. 51 offensive plays is nuts. I've never heard of that. So your short yardage is abysmal. Your third down in particular is abysmal. You've been bad the last 2 games with that, offensively and defensively. And that's why you've lost these 2 games. Your third down is just horrific. But, yeah, man, I get the frustration and I get the consternation. Like, this is ugly. This is as bad as it's ever been. But can we see anything through these next 9 weeks where you're like, okay, now I see it starting to take. I'm starting to see an offensive game plan come together. I'm starting to see what you're trying to do. Florida State's just not good enough to beat X team. But these coaches know what they're doing. These coaches have put them in a really good position to succeed, and they're just not good enough. That has not happened these last 2 weeks. That's what you want to see moving forward, because the hope is Norvell will stock this roster with players that are good enough. And if those players are coached well, then, buddy, you got something. You're cooking with grease. But right now, there's no real confidence that these coaches are putting that they're doing a good job, game plan wise. Again, they might not wear hats in the building. They might sit in the front row in class. They might be yes sir, no sir, get good grades, care, be studious kids, be polite kids, be hardworking, tough kids.
Great
I'm not
citizens.
dismissing all that, and I'm not mocking that. But if all that happens and you still go out and lose by 21 to Wake Forest, you're gonna be looking for a job in a year and a half. You know, that's the reality of this pursuit, this pursuit that Norvell has taken to with his career. This is what the job, and so you want to see something to just get excited about, to feel confidence in, and you haven't seen anything, and that includes special teams. You know, what's going on there? You gonna keep running into punters, but not really running into them, just kind of nudging them enough to get them to fall down? Now, again, was that a roughing the punter? No chance.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
In on no planet, in no game, is that a roughing the punter. He barely touched the kid, and the kid fell down. I don't know if the ACC was going to make up for the Notre Dame bad call. The next time Florida State breathes on a punter, we're calling a roughing the punter. But that was not roughing the punter.
A couple people said that the Notre Dame call was correct. And
no. Maybe, sure. Have you ever seen a kid get hit like that and do a flip like that and it not be a personal foul?
Correct. Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes, correct.
So it was just odd timing. But my point was that with why are you there? Why are you there? Why are you that close to him? It's the same thing with, I know it didn't end up mattering, but Asante Samuel slamming into the kicker against Clemson, coming off the edge, when you've held them to a field goal. You've won the battle. You're about to be down 3-0. And then he slams into the kicker, and they go and score, and then they scored another 52 points after that. But it's just why? That's poorly coached. Why are you doing that? Why are you? If you're going to be that close to him, tackle him and get the ball, or peel off. Like, that's the attention to detail stuff, and that's special teams, and that's supposed to be a strength. And on that same play, it didn't end up mattering, but Keyshawn Helton catches the ball at the 5, gets tackled at, the 12, and there's a block in the back. So even, because I thought it was going to be called running into the kicker, like it should have been.
Right.
Even if it had been a running into the kicker, it was a disastrous play because Wake would have declined the penalty, so Florida State could start at its own 4, just like Willie all over again. Special teams has not been anything of note so far. It's not been the best in the country by a long shot, and they practice it a lot. And then the offense is what it is, and then the defense. I guess we can get to the defense.
The clutch shot, the biggest hit. It's time for the Zaxby's indescribably good
Player of the week.
Corey, there's nothing in the stipulation between us and our good friends at Zaxby's that the indescribably good player of the week during football season has to be a football player, so I'm going to expose said loophole. I'm going to go with redshirt junior outside hitter Morgan Chacon as the Noles knocked off Florida this past week. She had her third double-double in her last 4 matches. She had 14 kills coming over the top, spiking the ball down, and 14 digs. So shout out Morgan Chacon, my Zaxby's indescribably good player of the week.
And that was against Florida she did that?
Yes. 14th ranked
Big
Florida.
upset win on Brianna Berry night. So that was really cool. Little Magic and Tully. I'm going to stick with football. Okay. Not a ton of candidates, but I'm going to go with my man Trayshawn Ward. Got his second career, maybe not. Second touchdown of the season. Had a nice 22-yard run there in the first quarter. Then took that 8-yard screen pass and scored. Then did not touch the ball again the rest of the half. But hey, who's counting? That guy is a player. I think that guy might even have a chance to be an NFL player. Ooh. He's got something to him. And as we move forward, Trayshawn Ward needs to be a bigger part of the game plan, and maybe they'll start winning some games. But Trayshawn Ward, he runs hard. He's fun to watch. I like that guy.
There you go. Morgan Chacon, Trayshawn Ward, our Zaxby's indescribably good players of the week. Already eliminated from your work survivor pool? Don't sweat it. MyBookie kicking off a free $50,000 Survivor contest for Week 3. Whether you're a new or existing customer, if you've made a deposit with MyBookie and use that promo code WARCHANT, you'll have earned an entry into the $50,000 Survivor contest absolutely free. To play, all you do is pick one winner a week in the NFL to keep your streak alive and have a shot at that grand prize. Make your first deposit now. Use that promo code WARCHANT, and they'll double your funds. Yes, double your money, double your winnings possibly. Promo is WARCHANT for a double deposit bonus and a ticket into the MyBookie Survivor contest. All right, yep, defense. What to say about the defense? What can we say about the defense? That, man, the cornerbacks, defensive backs, as we all sat here, and this is not me honking for my guy Jimbo, but it was, when we were going through the ruins of 18 and 19 and why are we here, and our recruiting classes are so overinflated because they are filled with defensive backs. We don't have any offensive linemen. We don't have any quarterbacks. Touche. That was true. That was accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, where are you going with that? It seems like you're proving the point.
But, man, they're still got a whole bunch of defensive backs that are highly recruited on this roster. Maybe not as much as Levante Taylor's and Tavares McFadden's and Ermon Lane, although Ermon Lane was their wide receiver converted. But you get the drift. Man, how do you coordinate defense? And this sounds like I'm sick enough for Adam Fuller, and I'm really not. I don't know where this team is right now. If they would have fired him after the Notre Dame game, or if they would have fired him after Jacksonville State, I don't think you beat Wake Forest. And I don't even know if you fire him tomorrow, and I'm not advocating for that. I don't know what any sort of in-season thing does right now. But defensively, how do you coordinate a defense when you have no cornerbacks by and large? I think Mako Dotson did a good job. He graded out pretty high. And Ja'Cory Roberson is a really good wide receiver. He's an all-ACC guy for them, and I think he only caught 2 balls, and he was held quiet. So maybe you do have one good cornerback, and he kept that guy in check. Meanwhile, nobody else seemed to be able to cover anybody. What a problem in 2021 when you can't cover people, at least in man-to-man, which you seem to exclusively run.
Well,
that's the problem defensively.
That is the problem.
The front four is still playing hard. They're doing well. Everybody else is quite much a liability.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive line, and I didn't even think they were – I know they gave up a bunch of rushing yards, but I just look, man, you're not solid at linebacker. The defensive line was holding the linebackers choose wrong gaps. That's number one, it's a tough offense to go up against. Their rushing attack is just so strange. And some of it was the quarterback escaping. But, yeah, man, they exploited your linebackers in the running game, and that's going to happen. That's a tough ask for those linebackers. But yeah, I think when it comes to the corners, man, I guess I don't understand football well enough to understand. I can't figure out why you play so much bump and run man to man on the outside. It's like every game you want to give, and it's not. I'm trying to think of how many shots they've taken downfield against Florida State this year where it didn't work out.
Right.
Like it wasn't a touchdown or a long gain or a pass interference. It seems like it's a 60% proposition or a 75% proposition of something. I'm surprised that other teams don't do it all the time. And it's, that first play, the Jarian Jones play, he just gets run by. I mean, know your limitations. And if you have corners that don't have 4.26 speed, don't have makeup speed, why do you insist on them being so close to the line of scrimmage, playing press, man-to-man, all the way down the field? Brownlee did the same thing late in the half, where he's there, sure, but he's also, he's playing up on him, and the guy immediately runs by him, and he's playing catch-up to try to get back into the play. It wasn't even a very good throw, but Brownlee has to go play catch-up to get back into the play, and as he's running, the other guy's leaping, and it's a kind of easy catch for a 6'5" guy. I don't understand that. I don't understand why, all they do seemingly is play man-to-man. I know that can't be true, but it seems like that's all they do, so it's pretty easy to dissect. Like, one of the stops Florida State got in the first half happened because Jamie Robinson ripped the ball out and the kid wouldn't go down.
Yeah.
But that was another third down conversion in the middle of the field against man coverage where your corner or your safety in that instance couldn't stay with them. But if they all know you're going to play man the whole time, they can do that, and it's going to be open. Zone works too. For a lot of good teams, zone works. You don't have to do it all the time. You can mix it up, but no matter if you're playing zone or man-to-man, there's no rule that says if you're playing man-to-man, you have to press and you have to be on the line of scrimmage. I just think you do these guys a disservice. Dion and Jalen Ramsey aren't back there, man. Man, what a throw by Mahomes.
Shout out to Jalen, game-clinching interception. Shout out to Sante, first career interception in the NFL.
There you go.
too,
Nice.
this
And
past week.
Derwin James is playing again. Good to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, as I was talking, Mahomes just made just a Mahomes throw. That was ridiculous.
Let's go find one of those guys, huh?
Man, I'm telling you. What would Florida State's record be with Patrick Mahomes the last 2 years? Legitimately. If this version of Patrick Mahomes, the guy that's whatever he is, 25, and the MVP of the NFL, what would their record be if he was the quarterback at Florida State these last two games?
We don't have a good offensive line. We don't have good wide receivers.
Well, I'm saying, what do you think it would be? They would be undefeated.
Gosh, 9-3.
You think so? You think his WAR is like +6 and like that's crazy.
I mean, like
it
what?
could
We're
be.
3-6 last year with him. I mean, we beat Georgia Tech.
No, I don't think you're 3-6, but I don't.
Well, I'm saying
you're
we
not
were,
beating Miami.
I'm just saying we were 3-6 last year with him. Then how much should we change off 3-6? Have we had?
I think 6-3.
Okay, correct.
Yeah, I think 6. I think he sees some things that maybe Jordan doesn't see.
Or he can just do stuff that nobody else can do.
He can make some throws. Unbelievable. So, but I wanted to say on the defense. So the defense isn't good. We get it.
But didn't we beat them up against Virginia for playing off? And it seemed like they played a little bit of zone in that game. So, and now we're killing them for playing too aggressive.
Well, those weren't like the corners playing off. That was just tight end run 6 yards and turn around.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, that was what are you doing? And that was a different defense. These are big plays early in games, or I guess late in games too, if you remember a week ago, where there's no real reason for your cornerback always to be in a trail position. Always. And I did see, so I looked once the Brownlee play happened, I'm like, that's just what they do, right? They just give up big, huge chunks down the sideline every game to everyone because they won't back up ever. So the second half I watched specifically every time before the ball was snapped to see if they really are press man. And there were a couple of plays where right before the snap they backed off. They looked like they were in press man and they backed off. Coincidentally, they didn't give up 70-yard touchdowns on those plays. But there's a give and take, right? Like you might give up a lot of 8-yard completions. You might give up the type of completions that Jacksonville State gave up to Florida State, a bunch of 6-yard stops. But that's certainly, in my opinion, better than 60-yard touchdowns. But that's beside the point. I'd like to see an adjustment there, or quit coaching like you have All-Americans at corner. Quit putting them in positions to get beat like stepchildren. That's a horrible analogy. My son has a stepdad. He better not be beating his stepchild. Do not beat your stepkids, folks. Why did that even become a phrase? You know what I mean? Like, that's a phrase in our society.
Well, because everybody's not cool like Brady. You know,
well, right. Beating like a redheaded stepchild. That's just gross.
That's even worse. That's really specific.
Don't beat any stepchildren, whether they're redheaded or not. So I don't know why they continue to put their corners in those kind of positions. They're not great. They're not All-Americans. But you say they're bad corners. I don't know. If you put any corners in a position like that where they're constant man-to-man on the outside press, they are all going to give up plays. All of them. Save for maybe 3 in the country. They're all going to give up plays. They're all going to give up catches. It just happens. These guys aren't Asante Samuel, and you're still playing, but you still play like they're Asante Samuel. That's bizarre to me. But I wanted to say, they also got some stops in that game that didn't count. You know, they got a stop. They got a 3 and out, and then they roughed the punter, quote-unquote roughed the punter.
Yeah.
And, of course, they go down and score because, you know, that's what happens. This isn't a good defense. But they did get that stop right there, and it didn't end up mattering. Then they get a stop in
they picked off the first play of the game or the second play of the game. Sidney Williams got an interception. Jamie Robinson gets that fumble. Yeah, they created turnovers, man.
Yeah, of course, because it's Florida State, they immediately fumble after they have that interception. But what I was going to say is I can't remember if it was the second or the third quarter. Was it the drive that put them up 35-14 or the drive that put them up? I don't know. But they get a stop and are going to – I think it was late in the second quarter. They get a stop and are going to force them to kick a field goal. It's third down, 3rd and 17. They complete a 3-yard pass. Jarian Jones pushes the kid out of bounds. Yeah. Does not push him down. Is holding his jersey up as he runs out of bounds, but he's holding it. The kid trips, falls, 15-yard penalty. It's just like you're bad enough as it is. You don't need that kind of stuff happening to you too. Because that was a stop. So the defense had put them in a horrible, or the offense had put them in a horrible position. Mastromano had a terrible punt. And then the next drive, I think, is when
that was second.
Yeah,
quarter.
that's what I'm saying. It was the second quarter. Yeah. So Mastromano had a terrible punt, and I think they got a 3 and out when the game seemed like it was about to be a blowout. And then Milton throws the interception, And again, it looked like they got the stop. Like, okay, you're going to hold them to a field goal. Awesome. Good job. That keeps them in the game. And then that call happens. And it's not the reason they lost the game. The Florida State defense is still the Florida State defense. But that stuff keeps happening too. And you'd like them to get a few breaks, and maybe a ref that doesn't even see the play maybe doesn't make that call. Or maybe you can review personal foul. It's a pretty big play. Like, let's take 9 minutes to move a ball back 2 or 3 yards. But when it's a 15-yard penalty on third down that keeps the drive alive, no need to review that. The ref didn't even see it, but hey, personal foul, Florida State, unnecessary roughness. Anyway, what are you going to do? The Wake had more penalties than Florida State.
And the crazy thing, again, this just goes to the fact that there's no explanation, and it's what makes it so frustrating right now. I'm looking at the stat broadcasts on this sort of stuff. Like, Wake Forest had 10 chunk plays. Florida State had 9.
Yeah.
It's not like, again, as we point out, the defenses, the deficiencies and inefficiency of the defense. Oh God, they're allowing 10 big chunk plays. Well, Florida State's offense did 9, but they still,
Do you have the average yards per play?
Well, Wake Forest's 4 passing plays gained 128.
No, I meant overall, just the overall average yards per play.
Yes, that's usually the bottom. 6.2 for Florida State, 5.4 for Wake Forest.
Yeah, 5.4 ain't bad at all. But read the number of total plays.
51 for Florida State, 89 for Wake Forest.
That's the ball game, man.
By the way,
they ran.
I've got 62. I got 62 plays against Georgia Tech in the 2014 ACC championship game. I thought maybe
38 plays is nuts. 38 more plays. So that's 200 extra yards if you're averaging 5 yards a play, and that's 38 extra plays that the Florida State defense is on the field. And do you know why they got 38 extra plays? What were the third down numbers, Aslan?
Florida State 1 for 6, 7
and
for
Wake
17.
Was what?
7 for 17.
Yeah, there you go. They converted 7 third downs. Florida State converted 1. It was the third down they converted to get down to the 1 yard line right before Milton fumbled. That's the only third down they converted all game. That's just not. Look, man. Situationally, they were horrible. They were just horrible in situations.
And they
third and 9, they can't. The Wake receivers make tough catches, or you interfere, or you get called for pushing a guy out of bounds. Your guys don't make tough catches. They don't make the block. They don't make the extra yard. Whatever it is, other teams are performing much better on the money down. And buddy, it's the money down. They even have the sign. I don't know, maybe change the sign or something. But it's not the. It's been
make it a Kraken crypto.
Down. It's the Kraken down.
Yeah,
it's cryptocurrency. Yeah. Just do something. Change it up, folks. Change it up. Different sign, different maybe. I don't even know, but just call it something else. The cash down. Anything but money down, or start being money on it, because right now you're not making any money. Everybody on that coaching staff is losing a ton of money every time they do not convert a third down, and every time they give up a third down, which is a lot. So just get better on that down, and let's see what happens, folks. Let's see what happens. Maybe back to the Wildcat. Anything to get better on third down.
Well said, Corey. Well said indeed. We should talk probably about solutions, but we're like at the hour 10 mark. We'll talk about solutions on tomorrow's show. We'll also speak to Mike Norvell and all the coordinators later today. All that will be up on warchant.com. I think we'll even have those interviews, at least Norvell's, on the Headlines podcast feed. So check that out. Stay connected to warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source. If you made it this far, gosh darn it, thank you so much. Hopefully you'll be back again tomorrow. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.